listening to Reignite, a podcast about the care and keeping of your grumpy Krogan grandpa. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us to gain the loyalty of the lizard grandpa is Spectre.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back.
I'm so excited for this. You have no idea.
Spectre, can you please remind our listeners what it is that you do in fandom? Like, what's your whole thing? Your shtick,
what's your
if you
deal?
will?
What's the deal with Spectre?
What's my stick in fandom? So I mostly do TTRPGs on Twitch. That's my big thing. I'm big into fantasy and science fiction. Play a lot of video games, lots of like RPGs and puzzles, but oh my god, I love Andromeda with the flame of my soul, and I will start fighting people who don't think it's as good as the main trilogy because I think you were expecting something else, but what it is so good anyway.
Yeah, this is the thing that we were saying, right? That people who go into Andromeda with absolutely no expectations are much happier than people who go in after loving the original trilogy.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your Andromeda experience? Like, why do you love Andromeda so much? What about this game makes it resonate for you as much as the trilogy does?
So when it comes to video games, I played by myself. I was 10 years late to everything. I watched all of my friends play stuff when I was younger. I had a bad experience at one point, but that made me mostly watch other people play video games. So when I started with the Mass Effect stuff, I watched everything about it. I did every possible permutation of it I could find. But when I finally owned my own game system, the very first game I ever owned was Mass Effect Andromeda, because one of my friends who worked at a game store was like, here, I know you're waiting to play Dragon Age Inquisition, but in the meantime, I have an extra copy, off you go. So the first thing I was sitting on my very own game system was like, I'm gonna play Andromeda. I love it so much. And I know everybody's gonna be like, but there's jank. Yes, there is jank. And the Deadeye thing was real, but I loved the story so much. And I think one of the things I really enjoyed about Andromeda over the original trilogy is you don't have to be a space savior. There's a lot of other things happening here. So it's more of how to interact in space more than it's, I'm God.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing to say is that at least my writer, because I can't speak for the femme writer, but the mask writer is just kind of themboing their way through space. one conversation at a time. Like, I want to help. I have no idea what's going on, y'all, but I'm going to help. Yeah.
Writer is just a 20-year-old doofus who doesn't know their ass from their elbow and was just given this responsibility, and they're just like, okay.
Yeah,
it's true. And personally, I'm on the ace spectrum, but one of the things I really love about the romances of Andromeda is you can literally get involved with everybody for quite some time, being like, what is your actual deal? Please tell me your deal.
Yeah, I love that. And I've made the comparisons before to Inquisition, where you can kind of flirt with everybody until you eventually can't. And I like that kind of freedom to explore whatever character's deal is. I mean, as of when we are recording, I've still not made my decision on who I'm going to romance. I think I know, but like, again, and there's a lot riding on that since we have a whole contest going. So
I tell myself every time that I will not romance my romance, that I will go for my second romance, and I get halfway through doing it and go, oh no, I will go get my romance again.
Yeah, I will say, playing the original trilogy, the one thing I have been able to do is like, I have my favorites, but I have also been able to like force myself to experiment and see the other options. I'm not your Frankie Bradley Lestrange who just romances Garrus every time.
I just love him so much.
I know.
I actually have a romance in this game that I think if they had written more content for that romance, I would have done it more often. But it frustrates me that once you get to the like that I've committed to this romance, it's kind of like, well, we're romantic now. Okay.
I think I know who it is.
Yes. I don't want to spoil things because I know he's not done, but I just was like, what?
Speaking of,
if it's the romance that I think it is, he passed that up anyway.
I know.
Speaking of romances, though, do you have a favorite romance?
Oh, yes. Every time we get to the Angara home planet, I pick the same choice for when we meet Jal. And every time he says something snarky, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm in love. I didn't mean to be in love again, but here I am.
Amazing.
Oh no, I love you.
Oops. And I get the sense, like the next question on our outline is why Drac, but I get the sense that Drac must be one of your favorite characters.
Look,
which is why
they refuse to let me romance the Krogans. They refuse to let me romance the Krogans.
I will say that Drac would be less awkward to romance than our lizard son. Like, I'm glad we can't romance him.
Yes.
I would romance Rex, though. Putting that out there.
Yeah.
I totally would romance
No,
Rex.
that's
if I
fair.
could. Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Romancing Grandpa Drac would still be kind of odd because
Yeah.
he is Grandpa Drac.
I romance
but
Kesh.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, in a heartbeat. Kesh is
Yes.
the obvious choice, obviously.
Not so much Morda. She scares me.
He does.
Yeah, I'm into it.
But in fairness,
What's the name of the Krogan that you meet who gives you the ice bracelet for his friend?
yes, he's the best. He's just out there like, I hope she's okay. Please
He's
let her know.
so sweet.
Well,
Oh my god.
we're so excited to have you to do this mission. Frankie had been hyping up this mission quite a bit. And
Was I wrong?
No, it did not disappoint. We haven't even gotten to the summary yet, but I loved it so much I had to make a GIF out of one of the moments just to use for later use because it didn't exist. We'll get to that. But I suppose before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Frankie, why don't we do the summary?
We've been building toward it all season. It's time to stand up for the Krogan people and gain enough evidence to reveal Spender's dirty deeds. A seed vault has been stolen from New Tuchanka, filled with crops engineered with the nutrients needed by any baby Kroglet. Drac is in rare form throughout the entire mission and only gets worse when he realizes that the botanist responsible for the colony's future crops was with the seed vault when it had been stolen. A frustrating decision for Drac, some unpleasant surprises, and a lot of Krogan rage finally leads us to Aron, Spender's lackey.
Yeah, this mission just is firing on all cylinders from the start. There are no check-ins this time around. We are gonna probably hit that wall for a little while until we finish all of the loyalty missions.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to ask before we get started, Frankie, who did you bring? Obviously Drac, but who else?
Obviously Drac, Vetra.
I brought Jal.
I left my boy at home because Drac and Vetra just have this rapport.
Yeah.
And I figured that if I was doing something for Drac, I should bring, like, his friend along.
Yeah.
Because it's not that he's not friends with my boyfriend. But I felt like it would be better for him to have more direct support.
Yeah, I brought Jal because, I mean, I just like their banter, but I mean, also Drac has good banter with literally every party member, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter who you bring. He's just so good to everyone.
I have done about even amounts of bringing my boyfriend and bringing PB because PB and Drac are just chaotic like all of the time. And it really depends on what I've built my character as, which one of them I bring with me for this.
You know what dynamic PB and Drac have? The same as Sarah and Iron Bull.
Yes,
absolutely.
That is exactly it.
100%.
Drac would yeet PB.
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. Without a second thought.
Like, he would come up with combo attacks with PB.
Okay, so this is the part where I get to admit that I am the special one with how I play video games. The very first time I played this, I didn't realize there was a map because I was not good at this. And so I just wandered off into mind-melting radiation. But because I did this, I met Drac before I met PB. And I do this every time because it's so much more fun.
It's funny you mentioned that, like, even though I don't romance the same person every time I play the trilogy, I do always get Liara first. Even though you don't have to, I always do, because in the back of my head, I know I'm going to go fight her mom, and her mom's going to die, and I can't do it. I can't do that to her. I have to pick her up first. I'm curious how I will replay this game. I've said this before, but, like, even though I will give some kind of final verdict at the end of the season of how I feel about the game, I'm mostly positive on it, but I just don't have a summation yet. That analysis is going to be incomplete because I don't really think I'll understand this game till I play it on my own terms. It's been fun to play it this way, but it's so start and stop that it's like, yeah, I'm having fun because I'm playing it in bite-sized chunks. I'm curious if it'll wear on me more playing it all at once, if it'll wear on me less, all that. So we'll see. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk this mission. So we get to Aron's hideout, and like immediately from the moment we touch down, Drac is just mad, just is yelling, is unhappy, just wants to get in there and crush heads, like is taking no prisoners from the moment we land.
Before we even get there, though, all of my discussion this episode is going to be me sharing my favorite Drac quotes.
I mean, that's
which is
mostly
all of them.
My notes. Yeah, all of my notes for this episode is quotes.
It's just Drac being the best. So when we're in the transport, Ryder says, let's keep our visit a surprise as long as possible. And Drac says, until we shoot them all. Right, Ryder?
Yeah.
Yes, Drac, until we shoot them all.
Yeah, shortly after that also, or I think it's after the first combat when you arrive, Jal goes, you get way too happy when people are shooting at you, which I was just like, yeah, I mean, true facts.
Grandpa who sends us, you look sad, here are some guns.
Yeah.
His banter is just so good all throughout the battles. He just yells at them, learn to aim! You're all just sad.
I love the vibe of this.
I don't even have to do anything. I just let him go. I'm just there to supervise.
Like grouchy old Krogan who is more robot than Krogan at this point. Who's just like, I have lived literally forever at this point. What are you gonna do? And now I'm mad.
I mean, also what I love about this game and the third Mass Effect, because it was more the case than in the first two games, is that the Krogan really feel like they have another move set, like separate from everyone else. Like the charging and the melee, like Grunt does it also, you know, when he's off on his own in the third game. But like when you're in Citadel with Rex is like charging in, punching, flipping people, things that he just wasn't in his kit in the first game. He was mostly like, a lot of the characters were kind of palette swappy when it came to their abilities. They would melee, but there was no headbutting or anything. But here Drac is like yelling, charging, headbutting a motherfucker. Like it's chaos and it's great. I love watching him run around the battlefield.
And to add on top of that, I think Andromeda did a really good job with adding more complexity to the Krogan story as well, because it's one of those things where Drac especially is a really, really good example of age giving more wisdom and going through some of those like toxic cycles in your head and coming out the other side. Because a lot of times when we see like elderly representation, it's always like foot on the throat of the younger generation type thing. And Drac definitely kind of went through that and then went, why am I here? What are we doing? Okay.
No, I agree. And I think that like the writing in this game for the Krogan, especially, is some of the best in the series. Though I do like the writing in 3. I think,
oh yeah,
you know, the Krogan have a good story, but like it's definitely Drac is different. And also it could have been very easy for them to lean into the kind of more bloodthirsty side of the Krogan, which often is the trope that we see. But Drac is more compassionate than any other Krogan we've ever seen, and it's just nice to see that. Kesh also, but like the Krogan in this game, even when they've been fucked over, still can show so much compassion, and it's awesome.
These three, like Kesh, Drac, and Vorn, are all really different sides of very, honestly, actually very traditionally Krogan things that are applied in new ways, and I really am very excited by it. Honestly, when you finally meet Vorn, and I know that takes, I don't want to skip ahead, but
good.
like...
I wanted to get to Vorn, actually, because it's not interesting to me anymore to really talk about combat. Combat's combat. It's whatever. Right. But when we get to Vorn, I love everything about Vorn, first of all.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's so great. And he brings up a lot of really relevant points. Vorn is a botanist. He is really the future of the Krogan because he's the one behind making sure that the seeds are packed with the nutrients for any babies that the Krogan have. He's the one that's going to make sure that the colony stays fed. He is like incredibly important. And Drac, who has been around the block many times, knows that. And even says, like, the seeds are useless without Vorn, because Vorn's the one who knows how they need to grow. He knows how to engineer them. Like, he's the one that's going to make sure that we're fed, that we're safe, that we have what we need. So, like, we can have the seeds, but we don't have the mind behind generating more of them, growing them. Like, we're going to be clueless without him. And Vorn, he's so soft, but not in a derogatory way. Like, I don't mean that.
No.
Like, he's just soft in kind of an aggressive way.
When you listen to Drac talk about him, like, leading into this combat without Vorn, Drac is very like, this is a squishy boy. We must go protect the squishy boy from a Krogan perspective. And then you meet Vorn, and Vorn is kind and he's thoughtful. And then he's also like, but I will fuck your shit because I have to. Why are you here?
Yeah, he is definitely like a doofus, but also like he's smart, but he is absolutely a doofus. And he's a charming character. I also like that before we talk about Vorn and this moment specifically when we rescued him, I like that this mission is one of my favorites for many reasons. One of the reasons is because it subverts the tropes of this very game. Typically, like, so the shuttle's taking off and Vorn's trapped. And in that situation, typically the game would make you choose one, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It makes you, there's no choice. It's just you get to choose how
to support Drac.
Right. And Drac grumbles one way or the other, but ultimately the choice is Drac's. You let Drac make the choice, and Drac is like, we have to save him. We're useless without him. And like, I love that because
I do too.
That's what I expected.
I also think that's a theme of Andromeda, because a lot of times, like, the original trilogy was like, what do you choose to do in this situation? And because you're coming into a already established like galaxy, when you discover that, a lot of the choices become, how do you support this galaxy in like becoming healthy and whole again? It's not about like just you and the colonies. It's now you've got the Angara and they've got an opinion, and like now you have a new Tuchanka, and the Krogan have all historically been sort of like messed with in general. And how do you support a, like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but like cohesive galaxy? And so a lot of your decisions are more of, what do we do to cement these alliances and to make sure that the people around us feel like we're not a threat and are supportive?
Yeah, totally.
Let's not forget, though, the bomb that Vorn drops as we're on our way to rescue him.
Yes.
Please tell Kesh that I love her.
I know, right? Right. It's...
And then Drac being all like, kids these days, in my day.
Yeah.
And added to the comm terminals in New Tuchanka, where like the men are talking about how to flirt with female Krogans. It's so good.
Yeah.
Krogans don't know. They just don't know what's up anymore.
They don't. It's great. I also love here that like we get this moment that you were alluding to where like Drac immediately when you rescue Vorn is very much, how could you do this? You're an idiot. We can't do this without you. How dare you? And Vorn just throws it back in his face and says,
yes,
what you don't, what are you talking about? You can't always be a sacrificial lamb. I get that you've lived this long life, but the clan needs you. You're the wisest of us all. And I love that moment because it's so rare that we see that kind of pushback.
And it's also really like eye-opening for Drac in that moment, because Drac, while he definitely is willing to share his wisdom and like grumbly protect the youngsters from themselves, that's not, he doesn't really, like, you can see that he doesn't really see himself as some great repository of wisdom,
right?
Because he's like, I was this like mercenary dude. All I've done is live literally forever, and at this point I've seen some shit, and I'm trying to tell you the shit I've seen.
Vorn says something that I love. He says, we know what we lost because you lived it. And what Vorn is trying to get across to Drac is you can't just throw your life away. You think that you're not part of our future, but the reason that we have a future is because of you and people of your generation and Krogans who have been through what you've been through. And we're incredibly lucky because we have you to turn to. And you can tell us what it is that we lost and how we can change.
Yeah. And in equal measure, Drac, because he is that repository of knowledge and supportive of things like Vorn, where he is sort of a soft boy Krogan, having Drax just kind of like check off on that is actually a really positive indicator for the progression of the Krogan.
If we're ready to move on from this moment to getting Vorn to safety. Oh, you have something else?
Two things. Let's not forget that Vorn tried to give his life for Drac, which sparked this whole thing.
Oh,
and brilliant. I do want to say, Drac telling Vorn, I'm not telling Kesh you died like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's just such grandpa, like, tired
Grandpa
patriarch
energy.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think like I really resonate with Drac in these moments too, because like you get to deal with the idiocy that is Spender. And like the more you deal with the idiocy that is Spender, you're just sitting there going, I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate him. Right?
Yeah.
And you start hating the, oh God, what is her name? The colonist manager.
Addison?
Yes, Addison, because she's signed off on him. And while I have very mixed feelings on Addison at the end of it, just like by the time you get to this loyalty mission, you're just like, I am so mad. I don't care what it takes to get this sorted out, but I am like fixing this and then hauling it back in front of the Citadel and be like, no.
Yeah, I love these moments. I do have a question because it wasn't clear to me, but is Vorn and Kesh romantically involved? Because I just didn't get that. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought they were together, but like, again, it's these moments that we talk about. I was like, oh. And I'm sure it came up at one point, but because we're playing it so segmented.
This is the first time we're hearing about it. Drac didn't know.
Interesting.
And Vorn was just like, if I die, tell Kesh I love her.
Right? So...
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, no, this was the first any of us are hearing about it, including Drac. And he's so unhappy.
And it's such an interesting thing because both Kesh and Vorn are power locuses for the Krogan now, because so it is very much like this is our whatever Morta is doing right now. You don't run this colony without a Vorn and a Kesh in place, and this is what they're choosing to be in that scenario.
Yeah,
the ultimate power couple.
And then after this moment, like after Vorn sacrifices himself for you and doesn't die, but like just face plants, and then it's like, ow, that hurt.
I know, right?
He's such a doofus.
Yes,
such a
but
dumbass.
I love him.
He's the dumbest smart person I've ever met, and I love him. But after this, you get this perfectly Krogan moment, which is the moment I gift, where you see Drac trying to figure out how to get to the ship. There's no real way from here, and he decides to make his own exit. And then it just cuts to the camera on the other side, and they've done this in Mass Effect before, where we just see some mooks on the other side of a wall, and then bam, Kool-Aid Man style, Drac bursts through the wall and goes, hi. And so I just made a gif of him busting through the wall and saying hi, and I was like, I tweeted me anytime anyone mentions Mass Effect in a public setting, because the gif was too perfect, so and it didn't exist, and so I made it. It's so good. My favorite moments with Krogan are like the quiet or the loud quiet moments. What I mean by that is like a big impact followed by like a small moment. Like every time Grunt does anything, and then Stephen Bloom does that signature hey 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 laugh. Like I love those kinds of moments, and this moment with Drac also, where he's just like, hi, like the Kool-Aid Man is just so good. It was excellent. One of the highlights of the entire game for me.
I think one of the things about this mission is it like lets you build like the feeling around it too, because again, you start sort of mad about what you have to do here, and then by the end of it, you're just like, oh, this really is just about the racism. It's about the space racism, and I'm mad. I'm so mad.
Yeah. But let's hear it for the Vorn. I love him so much.
So good.
Because when he gets taken hostage, he pulls out a root vegetable and he knocks this man out with the vegetable stink bomb.
It's so good. It's so damn brilliant.
He's my hero.
And then he's like, stay over there because it's a really dangerous root vegetable. And you're like, oh my God.
Born for director.
Yeah, right? And then we get this moment after our own is out cold, where he's suddenly upside down, hanging off a cliff. It's a very Batman moment, actually, of just like Drac holding him. And like, I love that while Ryder is a themboing across the planet, they also do have some fun in a way that Shepard doesn't unless you're Renegade, but it's pretty natural to Ryder.
Yes.
Because Ryder is a snarky little shit also. And like, so Ryder's just kneeling next to Aron, like just hanging out, like, hey, what's up,
like,
buddy?
Hi.
Good morning.
Do I look cool upside down?
And so in this moment, we get a choice to make. Do we bring him back as a prisoner to see if he's useful, or let Drac just chuck him? And I, of course, chose to keep him alive and bring him back and arrest him so we can see if he has any useful information.
Yeah, I chose that too because in my brain it was like, oh, the more that we can have against Spender, the better it will be. So if I can just like take this man and shove him in Spender's face and be like, look what I found, it will be sweet, sweet revenge.
I've played this game too many times, but I will admit that I have yeeted him more times than I have taken him back because I've had narcissists in my life and Spender's very much that vibe. And I'm just like, it will not matter. It will not matter. And all I can do to prove to this man that I really will come get him is just, nope, we're done. And if you come over here, we'll be real done.
That's fair. No, that's valid.
It's legit. Yeah. And I like that after this and after a brief conversation with Vorn, like thanking Vorn and thanking Drac, after you resolve the conversation, Drac is just like, I hate you all. Let me be old and cranky in peace.
I love it because
just stomps away.
Because both of us are ganging up on him and just being like,
to tell him how awesome he is.
We love you. Please stop. Right? So Drac sees himself as a relic. He thinks that fighting is all he knows, but that's not really true. He's capable of this sincere empathy. It's what made him raise Kesh. It's what made him fight for his clan's future. It's what drove him to save Vorn. Drac is more than a soldier. He's a leader, he's a father, he's an elder, and he's a warrior sage. He's so much more than he gives himself credit for.
Absolutely. He's the Dadmiral Anderson of this game.
He is.
Honestly.
He is our Dadmiral Anderson.
One of the things that I really loved about the Kesh Drac story when it came out was Drac was given a strong-willed tiny girl Krogan who wasn't supposed to live. She had opinions he didn't have. She was going to stubborn her way into the universe, right? And he looked at that and went, yes, I love it more now. I don't want to change it. I want to grow up so it can be stubborn at me some more.
Yeah. And like also Drac has shown that history. Like the reason that Drac teams up with you in the first place is because at first he just thinks you're a fleshy, human, useless waste bag. And then after seeing what you can do goes, oh no, I actually think you might be helpful.
You might survive.
Yeah. Let me stick around.
Potential.
Also, like Drac tends to bring out a lot more of the casual conversation in me than my usual like emotional. Like I usually blend between emotional and logical and not very much on the professional or on the casual, but Drac tends to be like hello and I'll be like yes, casual moment, let us fist bump.
Yeah, no, it's great. I loved this mission. I thought it was fun. It was to the point. The loyalty missions so far have been pretty straightforward, but I enjoyed that about them. You know, I don't think I love this mission. I still think that Legion's mission will always be my favorite because of the full impact of that mission. But that said, missions like this one also are important because they're just fun and really bring you in to know the character in the same way. Like, I will say this because we've done Korra and this one so far, like both missions cement the characters, right? You're getting to know them up to this point, but they do what the loyalty mission should do, which is like make you have an idea and a decision about the character, right? You don't have to like every character, but after these two missions, I know where I stand with these characters.
He's really gonna hate the end of this, isn't he? If he liked both Korra's mission and Drac's mission.
I guess we shall see.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Oh, well.
You have to DM me because I don't know what you're talking about.
Because I don't want spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately also this game's missions, when we get to do story missions, are just, for the most part, really well constructed and written. But on the other hand, the amount of useless missions that are in this game of nonsense to do is absurd. And like my biggest complaint so far is the gopher quests, which both this and Dragon Age Inquisition have a ton of. That's kind of the style. But that said, yeah, this mission was a blast. I love my Kool-Aid Man Krogan who busts through walls. It was excellent. And I loved Vorn and how he spoke back to Drac because it was a different way that like Grunt spoke back to Rex, you know, standing up for himself. Vorn, again, like Kesh, is showing the intelligent side of the Krogan, which there's plenty of. We just didn't get to see a lot of. And so it's fun to see that.
And like Vorn stands up to Drac, but with a lot of love and empathy.
Again, I will always be mad that they do not let us romance any Krogan ever. But like it leaves me in my internal quandary about my romance, because I usually pick Jal, but there's this energy in me that like also tries to romance Reyes. And it's not because I feel the same way. It's because when I see Reyes, he like frustrates me, and I have the urge to go back to the planet and yell and another thing at him. And it's not the same feeling at all. And like for me, the Krogan are kind of riding that line between that really empathetic thing that Jal embodies and that really kind of like stubborn, I did what it took Reyes vibe. And I like Krogan.
Yeah.
Do you like Krogan, Spectre?
Yeah, I mean, for me with the romance, I mean, this is no secret at this point. I am stuck between Cora, Vetra, and Jal. But I think the reason I am stuck between the three of them is because of like they all together kind of make what I love about Caden in the original trilogy in this most recent playthrough. Like the three of them have elements of that, but they are their own people. But I do see similarities to other characters from the original trilogy too. So it's hard. I will figure it out. I very much would rather just date all three of them, but that's not an option in this game.
Well,
so,
you'll have to figure it out by the time we finish all of these missions. So
Yes.
by the time all of the loyalty missions are done, you're gonna have to figure it out.
I will by then. I will. Biding my time.
Any other notes about the mission before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I really enjoy Drac. He's obviously my favorite character, which surprises no one because much like Spectre, Krogans tend to be my favorite characters in these games. You know, I like that this character has so much more depth than the other Krogan, who also had a ton of depth, but like they just up it every time, and like the Krogan have quickly become one of my favorite races besides the Geth, who like still I think narratively are the most superior creation within the Mass Effect world. But like the Krogan in this game especially just are all unique personalities, all interesting, and I really enjoyed this mission.
Storytelling for this just makes me want like a whole game that's based on New Tuchanka, and I want someone to go fight the dang worm because I just want to see somebody try.
Yeah.
Don't fight the worm.
I mean, that's a thing that I really want. Like so many other franchises like do third-party spin-off stuff, and like I really wish BioWare would let someone do a visual novel or do a tactics game and give us other stories within this world. Like imagine getting like a one-off, like short form, maybe straight up first person shooter of like a Garrus fighting Omega like story or something like, or anything like that. Like I wish there was more of that with this franchise. I am less and less excited every day about the next Mass Effect game because I'm afraid they're going to make an ending canonical or try too hard to shoehorn in the things that people complain about. And I just don't want that. But anyway, we shall see. But I definitely am enjoying Andromeda so far. And I loved this mission. It was excellent.
To tack on to that last little bit about not being excited, I think because Andromeda, like, again, if you're looking at it against Mass Effect 1 through 3, it's not the same story. And if that's what you wanted, you didn't get that. But it was so important to me to watch the attempt to build a society instead of the attempt to either save or destroy stuff all the time. And it is more complicated, and it doesn't really have clear like endings and stuff like that. And I get why that's frustrating to some people, but like I see Andromeda and I see New Tuchanka getting to decide what it is and will be in this universe. I see humanity getting to decide to be part of a greater collective instead of humanity, please recognize us for being the bestest forever. It's not quite that vibe. And the Angara, while they are definitely like under attack, it's very much the story of how do we continue to build a society while fending off a threat. And that building part is really what resonates with me the most. Even rescuing Vorn is about building a society. We can't feed, we can't move on with like our scientific advancements if we don't protect the people who are trying their best to bring us forward. And it's important.
Yeah, I mean, I've said from the beginning, the reason I am vibing with this game is it's more Star Trek than Star Wars, right? And I love the Star Warsiness of the original trilogy and like, you know, how urgent it is and how badass Shepard is. But what interests me in this game is that you are not a badass as Ryder by any means. And it's more about discovery.
Yeah,
You're just
right.
an ass. And it's more about discovery than the action. The action's cool and done well. I'm finally getting into, like, I'm finally leaning into mixing up my abilities and doing a bunch of different things. And, like, so I'm finally feeling comfortable in the combat. But, like, the discovery is what's great about this game and is better than the original trilogy, I would say, because it's about exploring in that Star Trek, going to bold new worlds kind of thing. And I'd not really had a sci-fi game that lets you do that on this level. Besides other Star Trek games that have come out, but they've not been great. And so, like, I appreciate that about this game.
Do we want some advice?
Yes, I'm always looking for advice on how to survive in a new galaxy.
My advice for you, Matt,
Uh-huh.
is do your best.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So helpful.
Spectre, do you have any advice?
When in doubt, walls or doors.
That's good advice. That is good advice. Especially since in one mission earlier on, I couldn't find a door because it looked like a wall or whatever it was.
Nice. Well, let's do something fun. Spectre, can you please pick a character from Andromeda? Your options are any main squad mate or secondary character, anyone that we've talked to multiple times.
Can I cheat and say Kesh?
And how is that cheating?
We knew it was coming.
Yeah,
we can do Cash. The question is, have you ever had to work with someone you hated?
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Duh.
Yes.
Matt and I have answered this already.
Yeah.
I had to organize a mass walkout from one of my jobs because of my boss's interesting racism.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. It was a moment. It was weird. Also, I want to point out that, like, nobody in the situation besides me was white. It was really weird.
All right then. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all have horror stories of jobs we've done. I just feel like those are endless.
Yeah.
But I love Kesh a lot, so any question associated with Kesh is the best question, because fuck Tan. We are
fuck
a
Tan.
We are a Tan hate account. Though, like, I feel bad because I love Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, I love him too. I think he's incredible.
Yeah.
I think Tan can go die in a fire.
There's a couple things that happened on my second playthrough. I became much meaner to Tan than I was on my first playthrough, because the first time I didn't know anything about him. So I was just like, well, maybe he has no. And then when our dad came up, I changed a lot of how I felt about things after the end of the series. I was like, no, that was worse. What happened was just worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Kumail Nanjiani is living his best nerd life. He was in the Eternals. He was now in Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's literally been in Star Wars, in Marvel, in Mass Effect. Like, this dude is just doing it. I can't wait to see him show up on Star Trek 3 seasons from now on one of those shows. It's inevitable. He's just going to be in all of our nerd properties. And
I'm
honestly,
okay with that. Like, yeah. I love him. He's incredible. I still hate Tan.
Yeah, legit.
So, that being said. All right. So, outro time, baby.
Yep. That's it for this episode. Next episode, we are going to go on Liam's loyalty mission. Maybe I will finally stop being annoyed by this little pissant. I guess we'll see.
I thought you were coming around on Liam a little bit.
I am.
Like, he is a cop, but...
But he is a golden Labrador cop. The weird thing about Liam is he ends up on this kind of like milk toast kind of vibe between the things you hate about him and the things you like about him. You kind of come out okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why folks like this character. I haven't gotten there yet, but I don't like. He's still better than the worst of the human characters in any other game. So, like, we got that going.
I do love the Jawl of him just stripping down guns naked for no particular reason. You're just like, all right then. Well, this is happening now.
We've got to see Jawl's ass. It's a fine moment.
First alien ass.
So we will be doing that next time. So please tune in for that. Spectre, thank you for joining us again. It's so good to see you.
Thank you for having me and letting me flail.
Anytime. Literally anytime. Can you tell folks where they can find you and your Twitch stream and all of that stuff?
Absolutely. You can find me most places on the internet at Spectre à la Fete. It's French for Ghost at the Party, if you're trying to parse that out. And my Twitch stream is Archives of the Dragon. MJ's done a bunch of stuff with me over there, as well as has her husband, John Bradley Lestrange. And we do a wonderful Mass Effect game as well on that, based in Andromeda. Well, adjacent to Andromeda. And I get to play a Krogan, to no one's surprise. And you can also find that channel on YouTube as well at Archives of the Dragon.
Awesome.
If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at iHoardLibraries and Matt at DJ_Stormageddon. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We are also members of the Certain Point of View Podcast Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website and join in the conversation. We are always talking about Mass Effect. I recently posted photos of my awesome Morden statue that I got for just $10 because that's what BioWare wanted to do with the gear store. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to buy a $115 statue for $10. So yes, but we're always talking about video games, TV, movies, and all sorts of other cool stuff there. So come hang out.
If you're enjoying our Andromeda shenanigans, as Spectre mentioned, then you should catch us over on Archives of the Dragon every other Monday, where my spouse, Professor John Bradley Lestrange, leads us through the wild unknown outside the Helios cluster in Andromeda. It's very gay, it's very heartfelt, and you can find that at twitch.tv/Arc of the Dragon.
He has let me do sapphic Krogan poetry more than once.
You can also find everything that I do at djstormageddon.com, all the podcasts that I both work on and host, as well as my Twitch page, my merch store. Pride Month is over, but
it's Wrath Month now, baby!
Yeah, exactly. If you want to support your local queer by buying their stuff, you can go to my merch store. I added a bunch of new cool stuff, including new t-shirts, new mugs, new tote bags, so definitely go check that out.
We have to come up with a catchy slogan for you. Support your local queer by clicking right here.
No.
Anyway, we'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for developing more amazing t-shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on Teespring. Also, we've never really thanked Carter's husband for this, but we should. All of the awesome episode-specific artwork that you see both on the website and on your local podcast platform of choice is designed by Carter's husband. So who I'm just not going to say his name at this point because it's too good of a bit.
At this point, you should know.
You should know. But no, seriously, he does all of our episode art as well, and it's awesome. So shout out to him for that as well.
Thanks, Carter's husband. And thank you, David Boyle, for redesigning our logo like a champ. And lastly, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Stormcaden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And I'm Spectre. Good luck, Pathfinders.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.